Gluconeogenesis is a mechanism to generate glucose from non-carbohydrate sources when the glucose is not available under some conditions. For example, under conditions of long-term fasting or during natural calamities, etc., our body may not get sufficient food. There may be a shortage of glucose in the blood, and many organs of the body, including brain, are not able to function without glucose. These organs utilize glucose as the sole source of energy. Under such conditions, our body will go for generation of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources, for example, pyruvate. And this pyruvate is generated in the body by the breakdown of proteins and amino acids and from other sources. So this process is called gluconeogenesis.
What is the role of gluconeogenesis in our survival? You know, already you might have understood what is gluconeogenesis. It is a synthesis of glucose from non-carbohydrate sources mainly. Some of our tissues are almost completely dependent upon glucose as the source of metabolic energy. A good example is nervous system, erythrocyte, testes, renal medulla, embryonic tissues, etc. And together these tissues are utilizing a large amount of glucose storage in the body in the form of glycogen in the muscle and liver. And therefore, a constant supply of glucose is most essential for our day-to-day survival. And you know that we are not always having food. There is sometimes a lot of time in between the meals. Sometimes there are longer periods of fasting. In such cases, the glucose storage in the body, that is glycogen, may be depleted, especially if we are fasting for a long period of time. For example, for a few days, glycogen storage is quickly depleted. In such cases, we need to obtain glucose from some other sources, and the easiest pathway for this is gluconeogenesis. In this pathway, products of breakdown of proteins and amino acids are being transformed into glucose. So this is called gluconeogenesis. It is the process of formation of glucose so as to maintain the minimum glucose level required for existence. Many of the steps of gluconeogenesis are simply those which are present in glycolysis. Of course, they are reversible reactions. So the same enzymes are catalyzing these reactions, whether it is in gluconeogenesis or in glycolysis. Typically 7 of the steps. But there are 3 steps in glycolysis which are not reversible. Therefore, these reactions should be bypassed in order to convert pyruvate into glucose. Which are those stages? They are given here. One is conversion of pyruvate into phosphoenol pyruvate via oxaloacetate. And here 2 enzymes are used, pyruvate carboxylase and PEP carboxykinase. Then there is the dephosphorylation of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Actually, this reaction is catalyzed by fructose 6-phosphatase. And the last reaction is the dephosphorylation of glucose 6-phosphate. It is being catalyzed by glucose 6-phosphatase. So these 3 enzymes are functioning only in gluconeogenesis. Otherwise, gluconeogenesis is simply the reversal of glycolysis. It is not completely true because 3 of the reactions of glycolysis are not reversible. So in order to carry out those reactions, some other sets of enzymes are required. In mammals, gluconeogenesis taking place in the liver and the kidney provides sufficient glucose to be used by the brain, muscles, erythrocytes, etc. And pyruvate carboxylase is stimulated by acetyl coenzyme A, thereby increasing the rate of gluconeogenesis when the cell already has adequate supplies of other substrates, for example, fatty acids, etc. And animals cannot convert acetyl coenzyme A into glucose. We know that the most important source of acetyl coenzyme A in the body is actually fatty acid oxidation. So, the products of fatty acid oxidation cannot be converted into glucose by animals, but at the same time plants can do it, and this topic is there in your syllabus. We will study it later.
Here is a comparison of glycolysis and gluconeogenesis. The downward arrows indicates conversion of glucose into pyruvate, that means glycolysis, while the upward arrows given in the blue color indicates conversion of pyruvate into glucose by gluconeogenesis. So we may feel that one is the reverse of the other. Actually, it is not so. Byproducts are the same. Reactions are also taking place in the same but reverse order. It is true. But if you look at gluconeogenesis, you will feel that there are 4 reactions extra in gluconeogenesis which are not present in glycolysis. It's because there are 3 stages in glycolysis which are not reversible under physiological conditions. So, in order to bypass this step, these 3 steps, different sets of enzymes are used. Look at the case of conversion of PEP into pyruvate. It is irreversible. Therefore, a 2 enzyme step is used to bypass this step. The other 2 steps are conversion of fructose 6-phosphate into fructose 1,6-bisphosphate and glucose into glucose 6-phosphate of glycolysis. Different sets of enzymes are used in these cases to bypass these steps in gluconeogenesis. Since the conversion of phosphoenol pyruvate into pyruvate in glycolysis is not reversible, the first step of gluconeogenesis, conversion of pyruvate into phosphoenol pyruvate, is achieved using a different set of enzymes, a different set of 2 enzymes. First of all, pyruvate is converted into oxaloacetate using ATP, and oxaloacetate is converted into PEP utilizing GTP.
This is the first reaction in which an irreversible step of glycolysis is bypassed. You see here pyruvate is there. It is reacting with the ATP and carbon dioxide and water. The enzyme is pyruvate carboxylase. What is produced is oxaloacetate. Remember, this reaction is not present in glycolysis. This enzyme also is not functioning in glycolysis. And remember, this is an energy requiring reaction because ATP is consumed. So we are beginning from pyruvate. Remember, pyruvate is the end product of glycolysis. In gluconeogenesis, pyruvate is the first raw material. It is combining with the ATP and carbon dioxide for forming oxaloacetate. Remember, pyruvate has only 3 carbon atoms. How many carbon atoms are there in oxaloacetate? There should be 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 carbon atoms in oxaloacetate. From where is the 4th carbon coming? From carbon dioxide. So this is an endergonic reaction. This reaction as such is not present in glycolysis. This is the second reaction of gluconeogenesis. This is also a part of the first bypass reaction. The oxaloacetate which is being formed in the previous step reacts with the GTP, and the enzyme is phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. This enzyme also is not functioning in glycolysis. what is produced is phosphoenol pyruvate. Of course, carbon dioxide is released here. The carbon dioxide which was added during the previous step is released here. So ultimately, there is no difference in the number of carbon atoms in the ultimately passing through the gluconeogenetic pathway and in the glycolytic pathway. Remember, during glycolysis, phosphoenol pyruvate was converted into pyruvate by a single step reaction. Since that reaction is highly irreversible, here in gluconeogenesis, first of all, pyruvate is converted into oxaloacetate, then it is converted into phosphoenol pyruvate. So a single irreversible reaction is actually made reversible by an alternate pathway. This is a basic principle in biochemistry. It is present in some other reactions as well. This is the second bypass reaction. Fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is converted into fructose 6-phosphate by a phosphatase enzyme. During glycolysis, fructose 6-phosphate is converted into fructose 1,6-bisphosphate utilizing ATP, and it was a kinase enzyme. Here, that reaction is irreversible, and therefore a different enzyme is used to make it flow in the reverse direction. You can see here in the diagram, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is having two phosphate groups. One is on carbon number 1, the other is on carbon number 6. The enzyme fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase is acting upon it. What happens? The phosphate group on carbon number 1 is removed as an inorganic phosphate. What is remaining is fructose 6-phosphate. This is the third bypass reaction of gluconeogenesis. In glycolysis, glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate with the help of ATP by an enzyme called glucokinase. That reaction is not reversible. So, here in gluconeogenesis, glucose 6-phosphate is acted upon by another enzyme, glucose 6-phosphatase, and the carbon number 6, which is bearing the phosphate, is acted upon it, and the phosphate is removed from it, releasing free glucose. Now, this free glucose is released into circulation.
Look at the reactions of glycolysis and gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is energetically more expensive because of the more number of ATP, GTP, etc. involved. And you compare the reactions, they are not exactly the reverse of each other. So this energetically expensive gluconeogenesis is essential for the body because it ensures that we survive, or at least it increases the chances of our survival during conditions of fasting. Remember, if we study that gluconeogenesis is the formation of glucose from pyruvate, then the first reaction begins with the pyruvate and the last reaction ends with the glucose, and not the other way.